Merkel Media.
What does the goddamn line say, Tony?
Please do not use gendered language.
Then what? I'll be arrested, put in airport jail?
Look, you're going completely sideways, man.
It's a big club, and you ain't in it.
How dare you?
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
I'm Chris Hansen with Daylight NBC.
Jack Marius Tack Theratrix.
Hi, I'm Spartacus.
Jackson, Sacramento, he, him. Steven Seagal.
Sex offender guy.
I'm Keith Morris.
This is Muammar Gaddafi.
I'm Rick James, bitch.
Sorting through the lies.
The hijacker's passport was found blocks from the World Trade Center crash site, if you can believe that.
We cannot track 2.0 in transactions.
And uncovering for world domination.
Learning about Cuba, having some food.
Let's talk about Chinese people.
Have you ever been in a Swangles in Fort Lauderdale?
I have sent 6 of my Libyan missiles to blow up this apartment.
I think jumping off a cliff with 2 German bisexuals.
Oh, you English are so...
Thank you, comrade.
And Macroaggressions.
That's what assholes call it.
With your host,
Buddy, I don't know who you are, but you're about to get chlamydia.
Charlie Robinson.
Hey, Whitey, where's your hat?
You want to drop the blame on Charlie and say it's all Charlie's fault.
He was a retard.
I get some goddamn diuretic.
Welcome to Macroaggressions. I'm your host, Charlie Robinson. If you are watching us on Ickonic, Odyssey, Rockfin, or Band.video, or you're listening wherever podcasts are served, thank you so much. We certainly do appreciate your amazing and continued support. And hey, speaking of Ickonic, they wanted me to let you know that if you click the link in the description of this podcast, you can get a 10-day free trial. You can try before you buy. They're doing amazing stuff over there. We love the Ikes. They've given us a home for this show since the show started. They're doing all kinds of weekly shows, movies, a lot of original content, health and fitness. You'd be surprised at what's going on over there. I'd say click the link in the description. Go try it out for 10 days. See what you think. It's like the Netflix of the alternative media. We love it. Hey, thanks to our sponsors, Chemical Free Body. If you're going to be preparing yourself for the coming craptacular or whatever these globalist maniacs have planned for us, get yourself ready physically. Okay. ChemicalFreeBody.com is the sponsor, one of the sponsors for this show. They've been tremendous for me. I drink their Green 85 drink every single morning. I'm not kidding. It looks weird. It tastes great. I treat it like my vitamins. It's been amazing for me. If you're interested, there's a detox in a box package that they have for you. You can go to chemicalfreebody.com/macro and check that out on your way out. Use the promo code macro to save yourself some money. They've got free shipping inside the US and all kinds of stuff there. So check them out. And also, hey, Prepare with Macroaggressions has been the other standby for us. I wish that we didn't need to talk about these things, but considering we may or may not be on the brink of World War III, and we've got supply chain issues, and we've got government fuckery at a level that I've never quite seen before, I think it might be reasonable to get yourself prepared for something in advance, because my God, I have seen enough. And if you have seen enough as well, and you are looking to just make one purchase real quick and get it taken care of and know that you've got your food covered for the next couple of months, go to preparewithmacroaggressions.com and just take a look at what they've got. They've got 4-week supply. They've got 3-month supply. They've got air purifiers, water purifiers. They've got seeds, camping equipment. There's a lot going on over there. Think about it. Don't freak your family out. Get yourself prepared however you can. If it's through my sponsors, fantastic. That helps to support the show and it helps to support those small businesses. But even if you're not using my sponsors, start being proactive. Start thinking about this stuff in advance, because we see it. we see it coming. We wish we didn't. So this episode is a show with John Sneisen from the Economic Truth Report. Now, John is a friend of mine. We've been speakers at Acapulco a couple years. We've got to know each other down there. He was one of the first guests on Macroaggressions. He is so smart that it is almost unfair, especially in the world of finance. And he brings his Norwegian and Canadian backgrounds into play. So he comes at this from a different angle. And what he did was he invited me to come on the show. And about halfway through the show, I recognized this was so good that I was going to use it for Macroaggressions as well, because of the topics that we covered and the depth of it and how far we went and how long we went. It's a long show, but it's well worth it. So thank you to John Sneisen. I think people, if you're interested, go check out his work, the Economic Truth Report, and please enjoy this video.
Hi everyone, this is John Sneisen and welcome to the Economic Truth Report, episode number 8. And today we have the great pleasure of having a good friend of mine, Charlie Robinson. And let me get a little bit of info on Mr. Charlie Robinson here. He's, quite the guy to know. So I'm very pleased to, be able to hang out with this guy sometimes. It's been a while since, I've been landlocked here in Canada. But Charlie is the author of the Octopus of Global Control. And I highly suggest you buy this book. And he's a controversial and humorous. It's a controversial and humorous book that takes 500 quotes of witnesses to some of the history's greatest events and uses them to piece together and expose century-long plan for world domination. So it's a really good book to read. I read it and I suggest everybody buy it. Now he's also the co-author of an Amazon bestseller, which is called The Controlled Demolition. And what a time to talk about this. There we go. What a time to talk about this today. As he actually co-authored that with none other than Jeff Berwick himself, which is also a fantastic guy. Now, so what he also does is he also, besides writing books, he has a fantastic podcast that I had the pleasure to be on one time, and that is called Macroaggressions. And I highly suggest everybody check that out. And then, of course, he is the co-host of the Union of the Unwanted, which is basically a roundtable of a whole bunch of crazy people that, mainstream media like to hear from. Basically, a whole bunch of independent journalists and free thinkers out there that want to, try to get the bottom of the world and find some truth and information by not just having a view of pure biasness that today's media has. So welcome to the show, Charlie.
It's good to see you again. Yeah, you were one of my first guests on Macroaggressions. We just got back from Mexico for Acapulco 2020, and all the madness wound up happening like a couple weeks after we got back, and that's when Macroaggressions launched. And yeah, you were one of my first guests on. So and of course you've been on Union of the Unwanted like a dozen times at least. So we're always grateful to have you personally. We're grateful to have your voice. You have this deep understanding of like the history of financial markets and things like that, and the history of like a deep understanding of currency. So for our Union of the Unwanted shows, yeah, we like to have a variety of voices, people that have a different expertise. We've had all the Rogan doctors on that'll get you in trouble, Dr. Peter McCullough, Dr. Robert Malone, and those guys. But from time to time, it's good to have it's good. It's always good to have a Canadian voice, especially recently with what we've had going on, but also someone that's out of the America bubble that a lot of us get kind of stuck in. So I always appreciate it whenever we go live on the Union of the Unwanted and I see the little box with you pop up. I always know, okay, we're gonna get some good stuff here. We're gonna get some information that nobody's heard of before. So I appreciate you taking the time to always come on our shows. And so I'm excited. Let's get weird.
Yeah, no, it's crazy times that we live in. That last Union of the Unwanted that we did, we kind of got into what happened with Trudeau and actually invoking the Emergencies Act, which is basically it's only been evoked. Well, actually, though, technically the Emergency Act has never been used. But of course, but of course, it's the predecessor of something called the War Measures Act, which basically give blanket thing. Like now, they're supposed to protect a little bit of like our Bill of Rights. We don't have a constitution here in Canada, of course. So we don't
have one in America either.
Yeah, not really. Yeah. But so anyway, so what's interesting about that is that of course his dad used that back in the day as the only. So the War Measures Act was enacted only 3 times in history, and that was World War One, World War II. Because what it does, you could direct everything that the government do and everything. You can tell everybody what you want them to do in a communist way. So you invoke a communist regime basically for a while.
Right.
Yeah.
No wonder he liked when he was asked about that in a panel discussion a couple years back. No wonder Trudeau said that he admired China's system.
Yeah, and you know what you got to remember, the only time it was used non-World War was actually against the Quebecois revolution in Quebec, in France. I almost said in Canada, and they actually it was pretty insane. I looked into it a bit. Like they basically just went and bashed indoors on anybody that they didn't like. Trudeau didn't quite do that, but he did bash in a whole bunch of people's heads in peaceful protests, in Ottawa, where they basically chased them all out of the truckers who parked in the streets, and they chased them all out with basically, one of our friends, we love him dearly, Dan Dix, was down there for Press for Truth, and he actually was hit pretty hard right in the chest, and I think he severely bruised his rib because he's still not fully recovered from that. Now we're talking about that's a week ago.
Dan Dix is what a real reporter should be.
Yeah, exactly. And, it was funny because a lot of people have woken up because we get that type of footage that Dan Dix can provide us and others here, other independent journalists. And then basically what you go and look at, we have our media called CBC, CTV, like all these mainstream medias, and you see like all these protests are violence, like they're a whole bunch of racist. Trudeau says that they're waving swastikas and all this stuff. Yeah. Meanwhile, it was actually a picture of Trudeau being a Nazi leader. So that was the basis of what they actually just flip it around, just totally Orwellian, what they do and gaslighting everybody. Meanwhile, it seems like Trudeau might be standing with people that might be waving some swastikas in Ukraine, potentially.
Yeah, well, you're allowed to protest now. I saw in Canada, you're allowed to go out and protest against Russia and in support of Ukraine. Funny how that works out, right? They just have a list of things that you're allowed. You can't support this, but you can support this. You in America, we did that in the summer of 2020, where everyone said you have to social distance, and then the CDC came out and said you have to social distance, has to be 6 feet. And like, well, what about for protesting? They're like, well, it's different for Black Lives Matter because we find that to be a socially important movement, and so we would say that is fine, but anything other than that, you're going to have 6 feet. You're like, okay, very science-y. So we get that same hypocrisy here in the States, and it's frustrating. I mean, it's one thing for them to just blatantly lie and gaslight you, which they're fully capable of doing and do as a matter of standard operating procedure. But then immediately afterwards, that they break up the protests in Ottawa, immediately afterwards, there's protests in support of Ukraine, and they're like, oh, that's fine.
Hey, as long as it fits the narrative, right? And
of course.
And that's kind of what Trudeau said, too. It's like, I support Black Lives Matters and other protests. But
oh, yeah. Oh, okay. So when the protest is against your side, you don't support it. When the protest is, I mean, what side is he on anyway? Like, who is Justin Trudeau? I mean, just a total puppet. Embarrassments, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to pick on Canada, but this, the World Economic Forum group, that whole draft class of morons that they have that are countries around the world. I mean, they're not sending the best and brightest. Let's be honest here. Like if I were the World Economic Forum and I had my young leaders program and they turned out to be as poor as these people, I don't know that I would be in a huge hurry to I mean, if Justin Trudeau and Jacinda Ardern and Emmanuel Macron are your star pupils of this World Economic Forum draft class, and they are literally hated by people in their countries, like absolutely hated. I don't know that I would hold those out as my heroes. But I guess when I guess that's all they've got, right? That's all that Klaus and the boys have got. Oh, there we go. There's a nice picture.
And I don't know if you know who this other guy is, but that's actually a guy. Let me find his name now. Let me go back here because this guy's name is hold on. Sorry, I was just got. So this is the leader of Svoboda, which is Ole Tianibok. And this guy was actually, so Svoboda is actually the Nazi party in Ukraine.
Good. Okay.
So it's a neo-Nazi they call them far right wing. They don't like to put them like as like straightforward like neo-Nazis, which they are, because they're literally like it's funny. I gotta show this here because they're literally like, these guys are no joke, because when I was like, Putin is talking about Nazis and stuff. Like I remember they put in like this guy as an interim leader. And not this guy, but another guy that was also connected to this, and he was a neo-Nazi guy. But then you have like this is their like, they're also in Greece, by the way, this type of group. But here you go, like look at this group, hanging out right now in Russia.
NATO flag,
Nazi
flag. What's the difference, really?
Yeah. So
interesting.
So very interesting things that are coming. Of course, you got to take a little bit of stuff with a grain of salt. But I looked at that picture very long and tried to find flaws in the picture or whatever. And I couldn't really find any, physical tampering. But who knows today, right? But
McCain's been involved with these guys for a long time.
Yeah, and then Al Qaeda,
now, but back when he was doing his thing, don't you find it interesting? These politician guys, these real deep state scumbags like John Kerry's and the John McCain's of the world, and all these guys, and Soros and Kissinger, that there's no retirement for them. They're in it till the day they die. It's like they don't get to just sort of.
It's their passion. When you have your passion, you want to like, it's like G. Edward Griffin. We got to remember
work a day in your life, right?
Yeah, exactly.
The passion is financing Nazis and you get
global
to finance
control.
Nazis. It's really not like working.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's pretty interesting what is happening. I've been going through the list of young global leaders, and I'm not at the new ones. Like these all like, Macrons and Freelands and all these guys, because they are like kind of at a class where like they all been like going through this communist type of regime school system, and so they've been brainwashed, and so I don't know if I would hold those guys up. Maybe I should hold up Lawrence Summers or Jeff Bezos or Mark Zuckerberg, or who else here now? Like we got there's so many. Gordon Brown. We got who was? Let me just go through. Tony Blair. We got Tony Blair is in here. He was in the inaugural class. Angela Merkel was in there, which just like basically she left Germany trying to put in a COVID vax pass I think it was like actually mandatory vax for a lot of people as she left, and of course she's. There's been some rumors about her too. Like who's the father of Justin Trudeau, kind of thing. Like there's been
who's the father of Angela Merkel.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things going around. There's some similarities between certain people.
She better be careful. She's going to start getting money given to her by John McCain pretty soon.
Yeah, he's going to come back from.
He's going to come back from the dead and start giving Angela Merkel more money. for her Nazism.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no, it's and then what I found here, I gotta try to see if I could find it. But actually, what was interesting, Charlie, is that there is a lady that was let's see now, CIA. There was a CIA lady here. Oh no, that was, sorry, I put in CIA, and then Cynthia Freeland comes up because she was working for the CIA.
What's the difference, right?
Yeah. But it was actually, so it's actually interesting because it was in the 90, like I think it was like 97. There was actually a lady that was sitting as the executive director of CIA at the same time as she was a young global leader. By the way, isn't that pretty interesting? I forgot her name. I gotta look up her name. But again, like it's people like that, and then Jamie Dimon. He was there as well. The current head, so Vladimir Butanin, which sounds like almost Putin, but he's actually the head of the central bank of Russia right now. And I found a lot of Russian oligarchs have been young global leaders, by the way. Yeah. So it's very interesting crowd. Like there's lots of Russians. They're from all over the world, of course, because it's an international movement, globalism, of course. You've got to be a global citizen. But yeah, you could find like almost the who's who of the most evil people on planet Earth and just put them in. And they all been through like Klaus Schwab's little class here, hanging out. But
I wonder what goes on at that summer camp where they take you to the world. I mean, is it the Bill Hicks thing where they show you an angle of the Kennedy assassination on a film of it from an angle that you've never seen before and say, this happens to you if you get out of line? Or, I mean, do they make them, they bring in a goat or bring in a kid? Like, what are they doing? Like, I'm only half joking about what goes on there because that,
we all seen there's a picture of Klaus, the people were hashtagging the gay reset, where he has like this super weird outfit and it's like a wedding or something. Yeah, there's like him like in a thong and like with a leaf in front of like it's.
Oh yeah, the one where he's on the beach.
Yeah,
the walking across the beach one. Yeah, I don't know.
Some sketchy stuff there, but yeah,
there's sketchy stuff. But we know that one of the strategies that they use, they first of all they get people that are ideologically aligned with this sort of thinking, like survive.
And believe me, what you find there when I look at the politicians, they're all left leaning. They're all socialists or communists, by the way.
Yeah. Well, and then they put them in a position of power, which look, a lot of people are unequipped to handle power. Just even the best people. Yeah. But you take these intentionally defective human beings that you may or may not have blackmail material on, and that are just ideologically more alike with you to begin with, but then on top of that, you incentivize them with power and money and status, and maybe, like I said, maybe blackmail material on them in case they get out of line, and you just sprinkle them throughout, like you're just throwing seeds everywhere and hoping that something germinates. And of course, it's not left to luck, right? They go in and finance, and they've got.
Oh, believe me. Yeah, believe me, when you go and look at this list, what I found with a lot of them, like not all of them, of course, but a lot of them suddenly comes into politics and becomes successsul after they attended.
There aren't a whole lot of failures there, right? They just come out of nowhere and they do well. What's interesting to me, and maybe you can help me sort of figure this out, but I've been a bit surprised at how not just involved, but deeply involved Russia has been with the World Economic Forum. Yeah. I actually thought, I would have assumed that they would be sort of on the outside. It seems like China is not as deeply involved, but Russia, like with Sberbank and their relationship with the Sputnik vaccines and all of this component, Russia and World Economic Forum have a whole lot in common. And I'm not like anti-Russia just because I'm an American or anything like that. I don't have any sort of, I'm not I don't care one way or the other about Russia, but I thought that they were more isolationists than to get involved with these maniacs. And then it turns out not only are they involved, but they're deeply involved. What do you, and you mentioned the Russian oligarchs too. Like, what do you make of this? Like, why? Like, how'd they get the Russians involved in this thing? I thought Russia wanted to be left alone.
Well, first of all, it's a big like networking club, right? And then it turns into, when you network for a while, it turns into, like, I've been a part of business networking clubs where, suddenly you actually work together and you give each other referrals. And sure enough, when you go and look a little bit closer, you see people getting inter-hired. Like Bill Gates was a young global leader, right? Like, and you see like Richard Branson, like all these guys have like NGOs that they hire each other into. Like it just goes forth and back, and so it becomes a club basically that nobody's allowed into other than a lot of these people that are at this networking event. And actually, I found 3 Rothschilds there as well. Edmund the Rothschild, which is now I think the heir of Edmund the Rothschild Bank, which is a derivatives trader out of Europe. And then of course you got Lynn Foster. So it was funny. She was listed at Lynn Forrester
the Rothschild?
No, she was listed as Lynn Forrester. The Rothschild name was not in there, but of course I put it into Wikipedia, and as soon as I put in Lynn Forrester the Rothschild comes up. So clearly there's certain people, like, for example, Jamie Dimon was listed as James Dimon. Nobody knows
they don't really want it searchable. They don't really. That would explain why Putin was taken off.
Yeah, so again, this list is like, I can't find Putin or I can't find Trudeau on the list, when you go and look through it. But who knows? There might be certain people that just doesn't want, like they paid, who knows? Probably they paid a lot of money to get off that list. Like Klaus is like, hey, pay me $100 million or $2 million and I'll take you off the list.
Right.
Yeah. So
it reminds me of like, with the CIA, when they would have, they would put money into all these ventures and everything. And people were like, hey,
Incutel,
yeah, like, can we not have the CIA's name on this because it's kind of bad for my business? And they're like, oh, okay, well, we'll start Incutel and we'll just run it through Incutel instead. And that then it doesn't look quite like the CIA is sitting on your board of directors, or the CIA gave you seed financing.
Yeah, or like Moderna, where you had DARPA and Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation doing seed funding.
Right. Yeah,
and guess what? I guess who went to was in I think it was I forgot the year, 2006 I think it was, but guess who was in the same class? Steve Benchell and Mark Zuckerberg was in the same class together. By the way,
what a surprise! Yeah. We'll see each other later. In 2006, Mark Zuckerberg was in there, so he was only.
I think I'll find him right now. Like you just keep on talking. I'll tell you exactly.
Look, we all know that Incutel was the major financer of Facebook, and we know that
09. Sorry.
09. Okay, yeah. But all right, still, that's 5 years after Facebook started. I guess I don't know. It's maybe reasonable, but I have questions about Zuck the same I have questions about Bill Gates. They have the same origin story.
Oh yeah.
Almost down to a T. Like freshman at Harvard starts a transformational technology company out of his dorm room with technology that turns out is stolen from someone else, and leaves school, takes his buddies with him. They go start this company, make billions of dollars, get investigated by the feds, start their own NGO charities, and start getting involved in all sorts of government nonsense. So I'm not entirely sure that either one of those guys is an organic person in this whole dance that they're doing, because Bill Gates's dad is deeply involved and tied in with these maniacs as well. So
Bill Gates actually
question everything.
Yeah, and Bill Gates's dad was in the inaugural class, William H. Gates, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, William H. Gates comes up, and he was actually into technology at the end of his life, like not very early, but of course. Eugenicist, and
he's deeply into eugenics.
Yeah, and he was also sitting. Yeah, I was sitting at the board there as well. So it's pretty insane. You got to remember, these kids, they when you have kids, you try to influence them, right? And give them some way of what you want in life and what you believe. And you would think that, and it actually comes out a little bit, with Bill Gates having his presentation at TEDx where he talks about his equation where, like, one of these had to go to zero and he has humans on there.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, and he's got a background, his dad's eugenics background. And it's like, let me guess which variable you want to get as close to zero as possible. That's an angle that a lot of people get dismissive of, is the eugenicist depopulation component to this. But I think that once you get over the initial shock of that concept and you sort of move and you start to truly examine it, you'll find a real common denominator between a lot of these people is that they just feel like there's too many of us taking up space on their planet, and things would work a whole lot better if there were fewer of us to deal with. And they start, and they write books about it, and they give speeches about it, and they form secret societies about it. They form not so secret societies about it, and it's very real. And so I think it's I've done topics. I've done a couple episodes talking about the eugenics and how that's how it hasn't. And Welcome Sanger and Welcome Leap and all these components that are eugenicist operations masquerading as global health initiatives, and that gives it the cover that it needs to like get invited just about anywhere. Well, except India, after you paralyze 500,000 kids and kill a bunch of other ones, they throw you out. But besides that, this cover story of being like a global health NGO is a Trojan horse that just gets wheeled right in, and inside it is a eugenics movement just waiting to happen. And so I think people are starting to kind of like go, oh God, this is actually a thing. I never even want to think about it, let alone like really research it. And then there you find, and then you go, well, the people that are pushing, the people that are really involved in this are a lot of the same people that are running the COVID operation. And you're like, oh, really?
Yeah, and believe me, it's almost a who's who always pushing COVID legislation. The hardest ones, like the Gavin Newsom is in there. You got I forgot his name, but the guy in Colorado that put in very hardcore legislation. All these guys have been like young global leaders as well. But guess what? There's a lot of more connections to other organizations, like the Council of Foreign Relations pops up all the time. When you go and look at these guys' profile, you find Bilderberger Group, a lot of them as well. So, and then Rockefeller Foundation, that's an interesting thing, because I think, it was James Corbett that actually did a fantastic video of the comparison between David Rockefeller and what's his name there, Bill Gates, and how they actually were monopolists, and then they turned themselves with, this philanthropic, kind of label and the PR stunt that you're creating these charities. And look at what the Rockefeller Foundation have, Operation Lockstep that they talked about, that is very, very similar to, what they've done now throughout COVID. And then, of course, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation that actually funded none other than Event 201 that was co-sponsored with the Johns Hopkins Institute, which actually, what is interestingly enough, Johns Hopkins have come out. I feel they're coming out and trying to be like saviors now, some of them, because Johns Hopkins came out and said, oh, lockdowns were terrible, to everybody. And well, they were the ones that actually, during their whole thing with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, they had the CDC directors there. They had, the head of Johnson & Johnson. I think Pfizer was there. Trudeau was at the same event, and a whole bunch of other leaders in the world, including bankers and everybody. And they were talking about lockdowns and all this stuff. Like, basically, it was their game plan.
Yeah.
What was out there. And what was even more crazier, they didn't do this yet, but they actually were talking about shutting off the internet. But then they kind of like backtracked on it when they were talking about it, said, oh, that'd be, total riots in the streets and all this stuff. It would kind of be like when Homer, destroyed the internet type of thing that they're very If anybody see that episode, it's pretty ingenious. But when you look at these people, and let's not forget, for example, the guy that's the head of NATO right now, he's not a young global leader, but Jens Stoltenberg, his dad, Thorvald Stoltenberg, this comes from my Norwegian side of things because I grew up in Norway for 25 years. I know a lot about these scumbags over there. Thorvald Stoltenberg was a board member at the steering committee member at the Trilateral Commission. So his dad, and so now him is sitting at NATO. He was the former prime minister of Norway. You guess where he's going next after his NATO appointment? He's going to be
United Nations.
Worse than that. No, worse than that. He's actually going to none other than becoming the chief of the Central Bank of Norway.
Oh God. These groups, they can hide for only so long. Like Johns Hopkins Medical Center is a prime example. Like they're involved in Event 201 with the Gates Foundation and World Economic Forum, among others. They wrote the SPARS pandemic document of 2017, which simulated the outbreak of a coronavirus, where they rush to market a vaccine, and they give the vaccine to everyone under emergency use authorization, and then everybody gets mad cow disease from the vaccine. They wrote that in 2017. They were involved in the dark winter simulation, the anthrax simulation, back in 2001. Everywhere you go where there's simulations that wind up going live, you'll find Johns Hopkins Medical Center involved in it too. So it's a deep state hospital.
Yeah, and people say that it's basically a CIA front. Who was it? Dr. Robert Malone. He's a deep state guy himself, really, that has seemed to be woken up, and he's actually saying that as well. So
we asked him, like when we had him on Union of the Unwanted, we asked him about mRNA technology, and he said, well, it's great, but the problem is once you turn it on, you can't turn it off. And we were like, who in their right mind would hire you to make a product that when you turn it on, you can't turn it off? He said, the military. And we were like, oh, fuck. So right there, like why, like they say, they'll arrest some guy who's like a drug trafficking guy, and they'll get him on the stand and they'll ask him a million questions, and he'll explain how the operation works. And then the other side will come up and say, well, we can't trust him. He's a drug dealer. And it's like, I get it. We can't trust Dr. Robert Malone because he's a deep state guy. Yeah. But much like the drug dealer, who's going to know the operation? The drug dealer is. The guy who you say is untrustworthy, he's going to be trustworthy in that circle, and he's going to know how it really operates. So you can say, oh, well, we can't trust the word of a drug dealer, but that's actually the guy that would know the best how it works. Same with Dr. Malone. Working for the military, working in big pharma, creating some pretty devious shit, right? We had him on our show because he explained, like, I don't know if it's an operation he's running, or if
he might get a conscience.
He might have a conscience. It just might be his Jerry Maguire moment where he's written the manifesto and he's going to change the whole world and everything. I don't know what his deal is, but we need him to keep talking. So we had him on like 5 months before Rogan. And we thought we're like, this guy is talking about crazy stuff. And now everybody's heard of it. So great. I'm glad that people know this, but it's like, we can't pretend like the COVID situation was just an accident, or just an act of God, or something accidentally released. It's like no. This whole thing has been orchestrated, and it involves some powerful people, and they need to be held accountable.
Yeah, and guess what? Like the Moderna. So Moderna itself was we DARPA, and John Hopkins was in there. There's a that is I forgot what they're called, but they're known for being like doing sketchy shit over in Sweden as well. But then you got DARPA in there, so it's all DARPA is a military and like secret military intelligence projects when it comes to technology. And guess what? Like you saw actually on Fox News, Steve Banchel was asked why they found a DNA sequence that apparently, according to experts, has a 1 in 3 trillion chance of being there, is in the actual SARS-CoV-2 itself, like the original Wuhan. That's that is coming out there.
These people need to be tried for their crimes and publicly executed for what they've done. They have done some crazy things. This is not. Look, if we allow this stuff to happen with no repercussions for these people in the media, I'm talking about like we've heard talk of like Nuremberg 2.0, whatever you want to call it, but just some accountability. If we don't hold these people accountable for what they've done, like for A, they'll do it again, and B, we'll have nobody to blame but ourselves because we didn't do anything about it the first time around, or the 50th time around, or however you want to count this. But COVID, we're not going to allow ourselves to be distracted by this Ukraine-Russia thing or whatever new story du jour there is, new distraction of the week. No way. We're not going to forget about this. We're going to grab these people that were involved in it. We're going to try them for their crimes, for what they did. When their sequence is showing up, their 2016 sequence is showing up in the CoV-2, and the trillion chance of it being natural. And this guy's going, I don't know what to tell you. Mistakes were made. No.
Yeah, that's exactly what he said.
No. Yeah. We get an independent body, not the FDA, not the CDC, none of these government agencies. You get an independent council to go investigate these people and find out what's going on, because this is a conspiracy to commit. So nothing's off the table.
Yeah, and if it was not, that's kind of what they've done on a pretty drastic scale. Got the insurance agencies confirming a lot of this, and even their own systems that like VAERS and in Europe, but it's so underreported. When you go and listen to doctors and nurses, it's like maybe 1 in 10 gets reported. Like, here, let me tell you a story from my boss's wife. Like, she actually has a sister, and her sister, basically right after I think it was the second dose, she got severe headache. And then she goes to the doctor after a while, and then it finds out she has microclotting. Guess what they did? They blamed it on that her mom must have been smoking when she was a kid, and that was caused it. So like this is the thing is, these doctors and nurses have been brainwashed and told that, there's no way that this vaccine is dangerous whatsoever. So everything that we have, like now, they're normalizing heart failure in kids and all this stuff. Like, that's pretty insane. Like, what this is, and of course there's been a VP. I didn't find Borla in there. But there's a VP at Pfizer. You got several board members at AstraZeneca was in this club, like young global leaders. The guy that invented Sputnik 5 was there. The guy that invented Sinovac was there. Global. So you can't make this up. Like, all these guys, they were there because Economic Forum, they want a fourth industrial revolution or merge with machines. And what's crazy enough, is transhumanist. That's what he really is, and it's not really coming out too much. But then you basically come out and say, like, oh, that he actually have written, and it's like, no, that doesn't exist, and here we go. Like, it's right here. You could pick it up and read it. Actually, what's really funny, Charlie, I have it right beside your book.
Oh, good.
My bookshelf. I just like, oh, that's Charlie's book right beside COVID-19, The Great Reset. So it's kind of funny.
Well,
but anyways, but yeah, these guys are relentless, and they won't stop. Like, it's for example, like, let me give you an example from Norway. So Gro Harlem Brundtland used to be the prime minister of the Labour Party of Norway. Then she went into the international scale. She became the head of the World Health Organization. But before that, she was an envoy to the United Nations for Norway. And during that time, she created something called Our Common Future. And that document, Our Common Future, actually is basically that we need to remove private property rights and all this stuff. And that turned into the Agenda 21. Actually, she co-wrote this paper with a couple other people. One of the guys was a guy from Manitoba called Maurice Strong.
I just did an episode on Maurice Strong that I haven't released yet. I was just going to chime in and say I know who it is. It's Maurice Strong.
Stay tuned for that episode, guys. You got to go and watch that at the Macroaggression podcast when that comes up, because this guy is quite
dangerous dude, man.
Yeah, and guess who got him into the whole thing? It was none other than Mr. Rockefeller. Lord Rockefeller.
Rockefeller got Maurice Strong into it, and then when he died, the eulogy that Klaus Schwab gave for him was true.
Really?
Yeah, the council or the forum wouldn't be what it was without your thousands of hours you and I have spent talking about ideas. Okay. You've been my sounding board. You've been a member of the committee of elders of the council of the.
That's where Gorham birthed on it. Yeah,
inception, and it it was like gosh. So I read the whole thing. I don't have.
That's amazing. We gotta watch this one. I want to watch that one as well.
Maurice Strong is a danger. All have that one thing in common: depopulation. They want fewer of us. Well, in Klaus Schwab's case, he probably would be fine if there were. The same amount of people, just as long as they were like robots or something.
Yeah, and he wants to control everyone. Like that's what the whole COVID-19 integrated reset or his fourth industrial revolution. It's basically on steroids what China is doing right now with their social credit scoring system. That I had a presentation on at the Red Pill Expo in 2019. Basically what the social credit scoring system goes out on and how. But what he wants to do, he wants to take it a step further, and he wants to put basically sensors into your body that would monitor your body at any point and basically monitor every single tiny little aspect. But that's what you got to remember. Technocrat elites and totalitarians, which Trudeau and others are, Macron and all these guys, they want full control over everything. They want to know every single tiny little thing that they can about you. And so that gives them control. It's like their whole big data. They want to pull in as much information about you. So they could have every single little thing to control you. And they know that if we get into this technological world, we would be more prone to being completely controlled by, the artificial intelligence and so on. Like I've worked with CCTV cameras, alarms, and so on. And I'm watching, what is coming online in like the artificial intelligence side of things. It's pretty scary stuff. They have like all this stuff with the anti-masking AIs. They got social distancing AIs. They got people counting AIs, and they got they can basically there's cameras that could detect in a crowd of 1,000 people, 100,000 people. They could detect 1,000 people in a second with their facial recognition. So these type of systems are coming out there, and
you should talk to Hotep Jesus. He's invested in a company that does AI for security cameras.
Oh,
I've had him on my show. He'll talk about that, and and he's into all kinds of tech stuff like that. But he's on the board of this company as well, and he was saying, it can tell like how many people go by a certain area and whether it just all calculates like foot traffic through stores and things like that to sort of measure how long some people spend in this part versus that part, and then help them consult with them to remake their stores differently. It's crazy. I mean, and it's not all evil, right? Of course, it's like there's some, with anything like technology wise, there's going to be some useful and not nefarious components to it.
Yeah, and having a surveillance camera in the first place too. Like I'm not against that at all. Like I'm all for having surveillance cameras and watching stuff. But the problem is that AI that they apply to it. Like that's
it. It's like the gun analogy. It's not that the gun is inherently a bad thing. It depends on whose hands it's in the AI cameras and the facial recognition cameras. It's great if you're wanting to protect your house from getting robbed, and you know that you're getting the feed of it and whatever. But I don't feel as comfortable when the NSA is storing all that data in Bluffdale, Utah, and they say that they can fit in their facility all of the communications happening throughout the world for the next 100 years. They can store in that facility that they already have open. So I feel uncomfortable about that.
just a little tad, right? Like it's these guys just want all this data because they want to be able to use it to have an edge and control over humanity. That there's no doubt about it. Like when I have a book called the redesign of the global financial architecture, the return of state authority. And in this book, it's a guy called Stephen P. McIntosh. He's the head of a group called G30, which is the Bilderberg for finance, where all these like top bankers, top economists, and top central bankers meet. Once they meet offshore, and then once they meet at the New York Fed every year. But what is happening there? He was writing in his book like the creation of the G20 and the creation of the Financial Stability Board that now runs basically all the global central banks, because they give directives. This group of 20 people sitting on top there gives directives to every single central bank, every single financial entity in the world using the G20 group. But basically what he's writing in his book, he's like a proud technocrat. And like if you were to count the word technocrat in that book, it probably pops up like at least 200 times. Really? It's pretty crazy. But yeah, this guy's and of course his next book is called Climate Crisis.
Of course, because if there's a bigger scam than central banking, it's climate crisis.
Hey, you should have heard Ursula von something, like the new lady that's head of the European Union. She's like, we will fight the Russians with green energy.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, they're like, how many more agendas can we shoehorn in here? We will fight the Russians with our green energy and our trans soldiers.
It's like the climate lockdowns. Remember that?
Right.
You know what's really hilarious is that website, that blog post disappeared from that corporate. It was like WSBC something, like I forgot what they're called, but they're basically consortium of all the chemical companies and a whole bunch of other agricultural like giants or whatever corporations. But they were talking about climate lockdowns, and they were saying that the next thing is going to be climate lockdowns. You're going to not be able to drive your cars for certain periods of time. You can't eat red meat during this period of time, and all this stuff that we're talking about. But that disappeared from the internet after it was exposed. And guess what? We have the Wayback Machine on the internet, the global archives, the internet archives. Yes, sure enough, you put that into the Wayback Machine, you find that article, but it's of course deleted.
And of course, that ties in nicely with Maurice Strong too, because he's the godfather of global warming.
100%.
He's the guy that was working with Al Gore and Ken Lay on these carbon offset scams and everything. I mean, he was set to make even more money.
Oh, they profit massively. Well, what is even more crazier is that the actual name of Al Gore's trading firm was Blood and Gore.
Was it really?
Yeah, if you go and look up Blood and Gore, basically that was the actual name of the carbon trading company, because he was a partner with a guy. His last name was Blood.
Oh my God.
And that's not even people have to be like, oh, you're insane, John. Why would you say that? Like, if you actually look it up, it's pretty crazy. Like, I'm not going to pull it up now, but for people that want to look it up, it's actually true. And of course, these guys are enriching themselves by trading carbon credits that they're forcing you to take, because you want to make sure you offset your carbon emissions. And if you breathe, you better get some carbon credits. Yeah,
it's a genius scam.
Yeah.
If you think about it, you just say, okay, we are going to decide that there's a carbon output limit that's right here. And anything above that, you got to pay us money. And everyone's like, okay, we'll just do that.
It's like mafia. It's like the mafia.
Yeah. First of all, show me the science. and don't tell me to trust the science. We're done with that, and the science that we know is garbage. But who put you guys in charge? Who the fuck do you think you are? You can just come in and just decide that you're going to start telling us we have to pay a carbon tax to you. What, are you in charge of the planet? Are you going to fix the planet with this money that you're taking in the form of a carbon tax? It's the biggest scam in the world. But I want to be clear, because when you get talking about global warming and climate change and all this stuff, people are very passionate about it. But I think that what they're passionate about is pollution.
Yeah, which
and
makes
that's
sense.
A very real thing.
Yeah, 100%.
And pollution is a very real thing. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about carbon credits. We're talking about just arbitrarily deciding that there needs to be, we're going to pick a gas, which, by the way, without this gas, nothing lives. We're going to demonize the gas like we're demonizing Russia or whatever. And then make up some allotment, some number, which, by the way, a volcano goes off in Iceland and puts more carbon into the atmosphere than all of mankind's exports for our entire existence. Okay. So let's just start there, because that's all you need to know. We can go to carbon zero all we want. A volcano goes off over there. Let's not even pretend this is about it. The people that are pitching this are the fucking Rockefellers. You know what I mean? And Rothschilds, people that have been destroying the planet their entire life. All of a sudden now they care about the planet. Like, spare me. It's such an obvious scam. But I got to give them credit. They get the media involved, and they understand that there's a huge segment of the population that's just really dumb, and they'll believe whatever you tell them. And you just hammer them through the media and tell them a story, and they just believe it. And not only do they believe it, they defend it to the death against you, and you're like, it's such a bad story. It's so unbelievable. They're lying to you. The same people that lie to you about everything, they're lying to you again. And you're like choosing to not see it. And you're like, yeah, but the science is settled. And it's like, you mean like with COVID? And they're like, oh, but it's different this time because it's climate. So now not only are you going to have the COVID Karens that are calling the police on too many cars in your driveway on Thanksgiving, now you're going to have the climate Karens that are going to call the police when you're pushing along.
Well, actually, talking about climate Karens, what do you call the male equivalent of that? Because I remember, I think it was like 5 years ago even, I was parked down in the city center. I was standing outside of a store waiting and doing something out there, being on the phone. And suddenly I get some knocking on the door. It's like, you know that you're destroying the environment by doing this. So it's like, yeah.
Shut up.
So I've seen some of that. But what's hilarious is that actually we're at a CO2 low for people that have not paid attention. And actually a great guy that I got the pleasure to meet, unfortunately, his Alzheimer's now, is Timothy Ball. I don't know if you ever heard about him, but he has a book called, what was it? Now, let's see if I can find it here. I might have taken it out. But it's actually I can't find it right now, but it's actually that talks about, he actually debunks the whole anthropogenic global warming thing with where he's actually a climate historian, by the way, and he's actually from the University of Manitoba, I believe. He was a professor there, and I talked to many people that have had this guy as professor, and they're just blown away by how it was like beyond any other professor that they had and how great it was. Wow. And so on. But he actually went and took core samples from all over the world, everywhere. He traveled everywhere, and he has a chart of the last 400 million years, not just 200 years, where actually you see that the average was like around 2,000, 3,000 parts per million. And that actually, when you go and look at the chart, like you actually see right now, we're at that super record low, actually. It's never been this low in Earth's history. Right now, and when you have greenhouses, you have them, they're usually at 1,200 parts per million, and we were like crazy about 440. I was like, oh, it's so dangerous. We're all gonna die, and it's all this climate. What you got to remember is the lady that was also working with Maurice Strongwald and Brundtland. She in Norway, we had the first carbon tax in the world in 1992 after the Rio. I think it was the Rio summit, right? That they initially did it. So we were on the forefront of this in Norway, and they've been pushing for this. Like right now, we have the Green Party is so big in Norway. They almost like they're sitting at, they have a huge portion in Oslo in the city council there, and they were calling for banning all traffic in Oslo, all traffic. And you'd be like,
cult.
How are you guys going to feed yourself, with no traffic covenant? Yeah.
I refuse to participate in this nonsense with these morons. It's a cult. The climate cult.
Charlie, no. Give them $3 trillion. They'll fix the problem. That's what the UN said. That's their own words. $3 trillion they want from us. And
I'm sure they'll put that to great use. They'll build a world army and just murder us all.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I talked to a Wall Street insider. He used to run a $8 billion fund on Wall Street, and he's actually making a movie right now promoting. It's going to be a Hollywood movie. If anybody has seen the movie Free Guy on Netflix, it's the actual guy. He's the director of this movie, which is going to be basically a free market based movie, which is the first one ever. Hollywood has been full of like attacks on Wall Street or wherever, but they've always been super left leaning. He's actually coming from approach from the free market, but he used to be an $8 billion fund manager at Fidelity. And he just quit and despised. And he's saying that we don't like the whole market is completely destroyed. And he's saying that the Fed is bringing us into utter despair. Like he's saying that like if we keep on having the Federal Reserve there, they're just going to destroy everything. And he's saying that climate change and this whole COVID scam, he calls it, like it's all banker scams that are being created by banksters so they could create a whole bunch of more money through funds, through all this lending, like all this money that was lent out basically during COVID, like to different programs that came from the banks, and they are making money. Doesn't matter if you can't pay it back or whatever, the government will pay it back.
Well, 80% of all US dollars that are in existence right now were created since COVID.
That should blow everybody's mind. Yeah,
and we knew, like, if you go back to that pre-COVID, that's the last time you and I were like sitting out at an Acapulco hanging out, and we were talking about you had your case with all the million, all the money. Didn't you have your case with you?
Yeah, but
of all that different money, we were talking about money. We were talking about how crazy the American debt is. Now look at it now. Now we go pull all the way back to where we are today.
Yeah. And it's not only the US, everybody.
All of that money, 80% of all dollars in existence. And we thought they were out of their minds 2 years ago. It's crazy. It's almost like they're trying to do it. It's almost like they've pulled the plug on the dollar.
I feel like they wanted
to plug on the dollar, you get the controlled demolition of the American empire, which is what I think they want. So
and exactly, like it comes back to they want this because they want to rebuild us in their vision, right? Like they want to rebuild the world in their own vision.
Build back better. It's in the name.
Oh, where does build back better come from? Oh, it's right. It's a little manifesto.
It comes from that. If it was just build, it would just be build better.
Yeah.
But it's build back better, implying that there used to be something there. You destroyed it.
Yeah.
And then you're going to build it back better than it was before. So it's implied in the name that we be destroyed. This current paradigm be destroyed.
And it's pretty much
like
what
they're telling us what they're going to do, and for just rationally and reasonably pointing this out, you will be called a conspiracy theorist, which is
just read a conspiracy. It's right here. You could buy it online.
Right there. It's not where I've been telling people I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm a conspiracy analyst. I'm not theorizing about potential conspiracies, though there are plenty of ones you can theorize about.
Yeah.
I'm analyzing actual ones.
Yeah, the ones that we're talking about here is like everything that we stated. There's like we didn't even like make up theories really. Well, kind of a little bit, but most of the stuff, like 90% of the discussion that we've had, is actually straight out there in the wide open right now. It's crazy.
It's just it seems like it's fringe material simply because the mainstream media is ignoring it.
Yeah,
and so because of that, it seems like it's some smaller it's like some unimportant thing. But in actuality, it's like this information is out there. The media is choosing not to talk about a lot of this stuff. A lot of stuff that got us kicked off of social media platforms and got our videos taken down and our channels taken down for talking about things that turned out to be 100% the way we said they were.
Yeah.
And that they've had to finally admit it. I mean, it's frustrating that we've had to focus on this,
Yeah,
it's such an obvious con job, and then, but whatever. I guess the Russia situation ended it.
Yeah, well, it's kind of did like they're just talking a little bit about it here still because they're so afraid now because we actually removed the COVID pass here in Manitoba. It disappeared as of 2 days ago. So now I'm free again. Yes, I'm free. I got my freedom back. Oh, anyways, that's not how I feel because I know that now they had the chance. They took away all the stuff. They have the infrastructure now to do it over and over and over again, right? So it's dicey that way. But then you go and look at like the conspiracy is. It is a conspiracy because they're conspiring against people here. And what I also remember, I used to be part of something called Junior Chamber International when I was young, because I was doing like network marketing and I wanted to learn a lot about, personal development stuff. And this group was fantastic about it. They were really good. What I didn't understand, well, I was there, like, I think from when I was 19 till about 23. And what I didn't understand about it at the time was that actually when I looked into it later in life, it's actually a Junior Chamber International is a UN youth organization where they get people involved. And guess who has been there? John F. Kennedy, George Bush, Bill Clinton, like all these guys have been member of this group. When I actually, so this is funny how I really got not really thrown out of the group, but told that, he didn't want to hear. So one of the top guys, he's a cybersecurity expert in Europe right now. He actually, I had the audacity to question about the Federal Reserve and, that actually private banks might own it. And he just lost it on me. He's like, I want nothing to do with you anymore. Like he was one of the older guys right in the group because it goes up to 44. Like the young global leader is 38, but it went up to 44. And then so he was like kind of a senior, and he was involved in the Junior Chamber International. But yeah, so I got ostracized from that. But the great training there, they train you in neurolinguistic programming, they train you in personal development, speaking, being eloquent speakers, and so on. So they're really good at that. Like they're really good at like making you very like kind of Obama-esque, when it comes to like how you portray yourself to the public. So they're really fantastic, and so they're creating these great leaders. When it comes to just not that certain people are that great, to be honest with you. Like Trudeau is like, I don't think he's gotten too much training in it because he was a substitute teacher and a snowboard instructor, but
he's a piece of work, man.
Oh, but you know what, who's even more scary, Charlie, is actually his now finance minister and deputy prime minister, Chrystia Freeland. She scares the crap out of me.
Yeah, she's a dangerous sociopath. And then she wrote that article or maybe it was a book about like the 1% or something. It's a book about the 1% running the world and things like that. She's a dangerous villain for sure, masquerading as some bureaucrat.
And I don't know if anybody paid attention. There's a video of her when Justin Trudeau she's standing in the background. Justin Trudeau is announcing the Emergencies Act, and she's like just
shaking.
Yeah, she's just looking everywhere. Like she's totally like
she's sketchy.
Yeah.
I keep my eyes on her, man. I think
Yeah.
she might be dangerous. She might wind up running the country at some point because she's in that group.
Which gives me the goosebumps just hearing that, because you know Trudeau is one thing; he's just a stooge. But this lady is a psychopath,
and replaced him with her.
Well, he is like hated now.
Dangerous.
I talk to a lot of people around, now, and people just despise him and hate him. Not only but that's without actually seeing people's heads getting bashed in Ottawa. Like they just despise him before that.
No, he's such a dishonest politician. He's the epitome of like a dishonest, like a fake person. He's like whoever you want him to be, he'll be whatever you need him to be at the moment. He's just such a disingenuous dipshit. You can tell. Like you can just sort of tell. I don't know the guy, right? I just have watched him enough, but he comes across. He's got a very Tony Blair-ish issue thing, and you like you said, that NLP, they put him through this stuff, and you see him doing this, and you go, whoa, okay, I recognize this. You're in that cult.
Yeah,
you're in that cult, and I recognize that look. Those guys and girls too. Cynthia Freeland, like you said, Jacinda Ardern, dangerous.
Well, we have the foreign minister.
Sociopaths.
Yeah, the foreign minister of Canada is a young global leader as well. Like she's the latest. She was actually the one sitting together with Cynthia Freeland now during the Ukrainian, like when they go on media and talk about it. Like those two are sitting there. They're both young global leaders from Klaus. Over there, so it's Anand. Her name is, but these guys are. They think
they're going to run the world. They think that they're building out the world government, and they think that they're going to have a position on this world government council. They'll be like kings and queens. That's like what they're promised. That's the vision for this whole thing. They'll be the controllers, and we'll all be the controlled. And if you've got to pick a side to be on, their argument is better to be the controllers than to be controlled. But it's like, why do we have to control anybody?
Yeah.
Why can't who said we need you? Why are we listening to the World Economic Forum?
Yeah.
Why haven't we had a drone strike on Davos? You know what I mean? Like,
are you insinuating violence?
If you're serious about terrorism, if you're serious about taking out a group of global terrorists, why haven't we hit Davos?
Now you got to take out those pesky peasants that try to go against. Actually, Gaddafi's son, after he got bombed, Gaddafi's son was a member of Young Global Leaders as well.
And a friend of the royal family.
Yeah, and what's interesting is my mom, she got married to a Libyan guy, and he was telling me he was down in Libya after they bombed it to smithereens, and guess who was down there rebuilding? AT&T and others were down there. The American corporations were down there rebuilding. Build back better.
Great. Yeah, right. They're building back better with Halliburton.
Yeah,
run by Dick Cheney.
And build back.
So disgusting and so obvious. And look, all I did, like the point of my show is, I'd just like to talk about this and have the conversation so that people are like thinking about these connections between these global companies and big business and government and regulatory agencies. I'm just trying to throw it out there so that we're having like an honest, balanced conversation, because it's not being had in the media. All we're getting is one side, a very specific diet of information in the mainstream media. And God forbid, if you get outside of that, you get the Joe Rogan treatment,
No, the thing is they feel so confident about this, and I think that's why you see Trudeau portraying himself the way he is, because he knows that media is backing him. He paid $700 million to media here in Canada in different tax grants and all this stuff. So Yeah, because media, guess what? When I was doing World Alternative Media with Josh, we were probably the number 2 media in Canada, if you count it like on YouTube itself. Like we were beating, the government-backed news media like CBC in views on
your
YouTube at the
stories
time.
were better.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you want?
Yeah.
You were putting out better. If they want to beat you, maybe they should do a better job of reporting the actual news.
Yeah. No, it's all a big, but that's a problem. It's like at this Davos group as well. Like there's the educators are there, the bankers, the top CEOs. You got the media people. You got intelligentsia. You got all these politicians. Like these guys are in there together. They're
for sure, man. Yeah. That's how you do it. You get you don't have to. You just could influence the influencers. Influence this real important group, and they will.
Yeah. By the way, talking about influencers,
show them how it all benefits them. They're going to be running things.
Yeah, and
their companies.
Talking about influencers, like online influencers. We're not talking about the guys that run corporations, but actually, how they paid influencers to put up propaganda pieces. And they actually talked about this. If you go and look at Event 201, their media piece, not their 20-minute highlight reel garbage that they made, but their actually 6-hour thing. You have a little piece where like, we just need to pay influencers to put out pieces and so on. Right? Like, so
they know how it works.
Yeah, they know how to control people and really push them. And of course, they have all the big, like when it comes to like Larry Page, you got Zuckerberg, you got Bezos, like all these guys that are at the top of any, like the head of Snapchat is on there. Like all these guys that are controlling these mainstream social media platforms, they're all also members here. So they have them on board and they run the algorithms that basically can divide and conquer us, because they also run algorithms to then get you more conspiratorial to a certain extent as well, to really just like put a huge divide between people so they can then have them infight against each other. Like it's,
I sent you, I think I sent you the link to one of my recent episodes. I named it "The Creatures from Sand Hill Road" as sort of a nod to G. Edward Griffin, as his creature from Jekyll Island. I did a whole episode on the venture capital connections between big tech and the World Economic Forum and InQtel.
Yeah.
And how these, how if you're Cell Partners or you're Sequoia Capital or KKR or one of these groups, you're putting money into these companies and you get a say in what happens at these companies. You get put on the board, you have a voice. And if they're sometimes those VC firms are aligned with the World Economic Forum. And so, and such was the case with the ones that were in charge of GoFundMe and Spotify.
Yeah,
they were World Economic Forum connected and InQtel connected, which is the venture capital arm of the CIA, as you know. That's look, you've got the World Economic Forum guys on your board.
Yeah. Oh, and believe me,
they've got a say in how things run, and they're giving you the money, and it's smart money. You're taking money from these people for a reason, because you want their connections. Well, guess what? If you're a AI company and you get funded by a Cell Partners, and they've got a tight relationship with the World Economic Forum, and the World Economic Forum is planning the fourth industrial revolution that's going to be run by AI. Guess whose company is probably going to do very well in that world? Yours. So it's like, I understand why companies would want to go there. I don't know if they know what they're getting into, but we can't pretend like venture capital firms don't have a say in this shit as well. They have a lot of money at stake and they have a lot of influence, and they can be influenced as well.
Yeah, and there's guys like Novogratz, is on, I found his name there as well. Like he's a big venture capitalist. And what's funny is also like not only venture capitalists, but you also have a whole bunch of these people are sitting on sometimes 12 or up to 24 boards. So like they're influential. Yeah, they're influential. Like they're just sitting on all these boards, and then they have their say into pushing the agenda into certain, like the ESG movement is like, there's tons of NGO sustainable development people there as well. Like people that are, Barroso, that's he sits as the head of Gavi right now. Like all these NGO people as well. Like they're creating all these non-governmental organizations that they actually, are pushing the agendas of all this stuff as well.
Very powerful tax havens, like tax shelters that are pushing agendas, and that extremely influential. It's how it's done. I mean, these NGOs that are run by people like Soros.
And there's lots of Open Society Foundation connected people in this group too. Like they're all, like, as I said, they're all intermingled. And Alex Soros, by the way, George Soros' son, was a young global leader just recently, I think, like one of the last 3-4 years.
And he's heading up the Open Foundation College Initiative, where they're reaching out, branching out to all these colleges.
Yeah, and of course that's how they get you. Like they always go after the youth, right? Like that, Junior Chamber International type of thing, right? Like they're all outreach groups to the younger population.
These guys aren't dumb.
No. they
know how it works. They have a good strategy. I mean, I understand what they're doing. They're doing, if you're an evil sociopath, multi-billionaire, and that's your fantasy and everything, I'd be doing it the way they're doing it too, right? You get to these, get them when they're young, get them in. I mean, it's sickening to say it, to talk like a sociopath like that, but I'm sure that's what they do. They just say, let's get them as young as we can, then we can shape their mentality, and then it's over at that point. We control them technologically. We control what sort of media they get. We basically grow these kids into what we want them to be. And after a generation or two of that, then there is that's just old timey, the way they used to do freedom. Freedom? I remember that back in the Stone Ages.
Well, freedom is something the government gives you.
It's like when we saw Ike in Mexico. Remember, it's like he talks about the totalitarian tiptoe, right? You don't go from A to Z, you go from A to B and B to C and C to D. You just incremental removal of rights until you get to a point where we are, where we're walking into this technocratic hellscape where they can just digitally lock us out.
Yeah. And it's in China already.
Lock us out of society. And that's terrifying, man. And we have to be aware of it. And I kind of wrestle with trying to find where the balance is between talking about it, being honest about where we're going, and not trying to scare the hell out of the listener. Because I'm not trying to scare you. But if you're scared, I understand. Like, where they're wanting to take us is not that far away. Where they're talking about vaccine passports and things like that, and we know about social credit score. You obviously,
I lived through a damn vaccine
gave
passport.
A presentation in 2019 on social credit scores. I mean, where it's going, and I know where it's going, and how fast the technology is headed, and all it takes is a bunch of world leaders that decide now's the time, a compliant public, a media barrage, and it's over, man. And next thing you know, you've got a social credit system that's been implemented on top of you, and it's too late.
Actually, there's a bill right now in Canada. I think it's Bill C266, I think it's called. And actually in there, it's universal basic income. And they're not just giving it to a little bit of population. In that bill, it says every single one, including every permanent resident and every refugee that has come into Canada. And also, like, conveniently in there, they will have a system to track this as well. It's like, oh, you got to get a system to track that. So that's actually what's in, I think they're going to vote on it very soon, which is another just crazy thing that's out there that these guys are doing. Like, they're constantly, and of course, like, there's a barrage of these bills that are about to be voted on right now in the Canadian government that came conveniently right after, of course, the war started in Ukraine. What's even more funnier is that what does Canadian truckers and Russian oligarch have in common?
What?
They have their bank accounts frozen. I'm sorry for laughing about that, but
I guess they do, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. They could use they all could use some Monero.
Yeah, exactly. Though we tried to actually like help the Canadian truckers, and it's like, you got to go into Bitcoin and all, like, just get out of the the control grid. Of course, you know what they actually did here in Canada during the Emergency Measures Act. They and this has become actually now a permanent thing. Funny enough, some of these, like, oh, it's temporary, suddenly becomes permanent, is actually a thing here in Canada called FinTrack, which is basically they look for money laundering and they look for terrorist funding and all this stuff. So what happened is that every transaction over $1,000 that moves into or out of the financial system now has to be reported to this FinTrack. And basically, guess what? All the crypto exchanges have to adopt it too, and they did. Like, in an instant, like this. Like, it was over a day. And guess what also happened during the whole convoy? So, like, I was trying to tell people, it's like, hey, like, how you really could hurt them is like not by using their system. Take out your money out of these banks too. Like, and then sure enough, like, you got people getting their bank accounts frozen and people panicked and everybody was pulling their money up. And suddenly, right after, Trudeau just flips and says, "Oh, well, the crisis is over." And I think that had a little bit to do with it, because banks in Canada has almost no cash. I've proven this. I've gone into their balance sheet. This was before, of course, they did quantitative easing, because before, it actually shows a little bit closer to reality, because after quantitative easing, all the reserves that basically, when the central bank buys an asset from these banks that is garbage, they take it on their balance sheet and they put it in the bank's reserves at the central bank. Now, the problem is that gets counted in with the cash now. So, like, it's so distorted. You can't see how much cash they have. They look like they actually have reserves, but they don't have any cash at all. Like, I tried to, one time my dad passed away here in 2020. I didn't even get to see him because of the COVID regulations. But what's even worse than that, like, I tried to get out $5,000 Canadian out of the bank. So the lady at my credit union is saying, like, oh, we need like a day or two for this. It's like, so I was just like leaning over. I was like, are you telling me you guys don't have cash at all anymore? Like, are you guys bankrupt? I was saying to her. And it's like, let me bring my manager out. And so the actual bank manager comes out and then starts talking to me. And I was like, looking at your consolidated financial statement here, it looks like you got less than 1% cash to deposit ratio. Is that true? It's like, what do you think? We're a credit union. That was her explanation to it. So I just started laughing. It's like, okay, so you guys admit that you don't have any cash. And that was like a whole bunch of people in the bank at the time. But yeah, so they don't really like me there.
Start
but
a bank run. That'll get you in trouble real fast. Yeah. Get your money out of the banks.
Yeah, get off the grid. That's what I tried to tell people. Like, get off the financial grid. Anything that's attached to any banking system today, like including your mortgage even. Like, all that stuff is attached to some kind of banking platform. Like, all that can be screwed around with by the government, because they could come in with decree and then turn the banks into this central bank digital currency system, and then you're stuck with all your assets in that system. There's no way out of it unless you actually had precious metals or you had cryptocurrency before the shit hits the fan. basically.
Yeah.
So I think it's so important right now that, everybody that's listening to this is my opinion, of course, but you need to get off of the financial grid, because if you don't, you're going to be stuck like those poor bankers. There's bankers that are going bankrupt. No, the bankers, truckers, poor truckers that that are going bankrupt because they can't pay their bill. And then we got it's actually a lady from Manitoba, from my province, that was the lead of this whole thing. Apparently, I didn't know until she got arrested that she was from Manitoba, but she's a political prisoner. They're gonna have her in there for like 10, 20 years. Basically, just to prove a point, basically, that you scumbag peasants think that you can come after us.
Right.
We're gonna show you.
It's crazy out there, man. I'm optimistic, though. I feel like a lot of people are waking up to this. It's becoming real obvious that it's us versus them, and I think that's maybe a good start for people. I think COVID woke a lot of people up. It woke people up to it gave them a refresher course on what the herd mentality looks like, and when you 100%. See that, how dangerous the herd could be. And
I seen it full time here. We had vaccine passports here for a long time. We just got rid of them temporarily because there's we might reintroduce them in fall if it gets really bad.
Oh, it'll get bad then.
Yeah, of course.
But they'll make it bad.
Yeah, because they have it already. They created the infrastructure now.
Right.
We allowed them to create that infrastructure, and now they sit on it to do it every damn time they feel like it.
You build Australian COVID concentration camps. I understand one of them was already built for something else, but they were building more.
Well, there's lots of COVID camps here too, Charlie. We have several.
Yep, exactly. They're building them in Canada as well. They're going to find a reason to fill them.
Yeah, they can't just sit there.
They're not just going to sit there. This we can't allow this to happen. This we have to just recognize this is insanity. What they're slow. We always thought that how could those Germans fall in line with the Nazis? How didn't they see it coming? Well, now you see how it comes. It comes in incrementally. It comes in slowly. It comes in with all the media push. It comes in with the way COVID did, where it's scared of your neighbors and everybody was potentially diseased and infected. And it's look how fast that worked. Then you look at World War II and you go, fuck, I understand.
Yeah,
I understand how they convinced all those people to believe crazy shit. I understand now. Look how many people are wearing double masked in a car by themselves.
I've seen this. Yeah, I've seen it many times. And what's even crazy this time, though, we have this technocratic control grid. You got the media is way beyond what it was in Second World War. All this technology, social media and everything that never existed back then, right? So it's so much easier for them to use the actual right, control vehicles and use the right propaganda out there to then really push a narrative. Remember those people that were falling over in Wuhan, just dying in the streets, kind of narrative. And
they got their money's worth on that footage, didn't they?
Yeah, but guess what, though? At the same time, there was actually chattering in the conspiracy movement about that this virus might have come out of the level 4 Wuhan lab. And guess what? It's actually true this it's actually basically it's so close to being realistic that it exactly came out of that lab. Now, and then, of course, we got one here in Winnipeg. Some people actually believe that it was worked on in Winnipeg first, and then it got shipped to Wuhan because, guess what? They got rid of 2 Chinese scientists for taking vials out of Canada. Out of the Winnipeg lab here. So who knows? And actually, let me tell you a quick story about the Winnipeg lab. They actually shut off the cameras in that lab. Apparently, this is from a guy that worked with the CCTV cameras. They shut off them for a little while. They actually removed all the inside ones. I worked at labs for since I do CCTV, I worked at labs at Emergent, at other biolabs across the world, across Canada and Norway. and you never, like when you have a CCTV system, you never shut it off. Like that, yeah, you know that something sinister is going on when you shut off your recordings. Come on. So yeah,
Jeffrey Epstein's just about to hang himself.
Yeah, just like, oh damn it, those cameras, they just stopped working.
I love it, man. I mean, it's a crazy world we're living in.
It is, and what is crazier, like when you go and listen to like all these names, like on this list, like almost every 10th name is a big person, like big well-known person. Yeah, and so like, guess what though? I'm coming after these little scumbags, and I actually, this is hilarious. I couldn't believe that this happened, but so if you go and look up younggloballeaders.org, that's their website. Guess what I bought? I bought younggloballeaders.com.
I know when you sent that over to me, I was like, oh man, this is fantastic. I was like, what are you going to put on it? And you're like, the list.
It's happening. I'm getting backed. So like, I got some guys that are backing me. So it's happening.
Nice, man. Nice.
No, it's pretty crazy. Like this list has to go out there for everybody to see and see what's going on there. Not only because this is the list of these people. A lot of people doesn't want to deal with these people, like especially wealthy people. They don't want to have nothing to do with these guys, especially that are aligned with individual freedom and so on. And guess what? Me and Charlie, we are conspiring. We want to conspire for a world that sees individual freedom at the forefront. What really excited me was actually the trucker convoy. Their slogan was like, "We want individual freedom of choice back." Like that got me actually pretty excited and fired up. I've donated to the guys, so they haven't come after my account. Well, actually now they stopped, so they can't freeze any accounts anymore. But they got the list though, and they actually be like, I got the list. I doxed all these people. Like actually, I didn't donate to the Give Send Go or whatever that they did, but they actually sent that whole list. These like scumbag, like what do you call them? Like Antifa looking people, like hacker. He just like in himself, like, oh, I have all the addresses. Just go and kill these people. Almost like that. They want.
Yeah, I saw that video, man. That dude didn't blink the whole time.
Yeah.
Like,
and hey, guess what, you psychopath? I got the list, and I will publish it. Sorry.
Just a message. It's a crazy. It's been wild to watch the reaction of like the loony left doing their thing.
Yeah.
That whole Antifa crowd to whatever they are.
Well, actually, let me tell you,
fascinating time to be like reporting on it. To be witnessing it and reporting on it, because you wouldn't believe it.
No, you wouldn't believe what happened in Winnipeg. In Winnipeg, of all places, there was like we had the protest in front of the legislature. We did kind of a similar thing to the convoy where they had blocked off like a whole street down to the legislative building. And we actually, I was there. They drove people, like everybody was driving through, like honking their horns. There was thousands of people driving through with Canadian flags. Like I'm not too into the nation state thing, but it was pretty exciting watching people. And my favorite thing was William Wallace was there. All painted up, and of course, as soon as I see that guy, I just like open up my window and just yell, "Freedom!" I couldn't help myself. I just had to. But it was a good time. And you go down there, like these guys are supposedly neo-Nazis and so on. Like all their families are down there. Like it's just normal people that just are sick and tired of being controlled by others. They just want to be left alone, very simply. Like just get the hell out of my life. I just want to live my life. I'm not going to bother anybody. I'm not going to try to control anyone or do any criminal things. I just want to live my life. I got a certain period of time on this earth. I wanted to, be without interference from other morons that trying to tell me what to do.
Is that too much to ask?
Yeah.
I just want to be left alone too.
Apparently it is. That's you're terrorist if you think like that. Like you terrorist. You think that you're going to kill all these people with getting COVID and so on. Guess what? By the way, I have a personal story with COVID. where I was working with three guys. One is unvaxxed, one of my colleagues, and then two of the other ones, they were triple and double vaxxed. And so guess what? One of the guys, the unvaxxed guy, he got like the symptoms first, and then suddenly the two other guys got it, and they were sick for 3-4 days, all of them. And guess what? I never got anything. Well, guess what I'm doing? I'm taking a whole bunch of vitamin D and all this stuff. Like, yeah, that's scary stuff, right? Like, it was just until recent that they just barely mentioned vitamin D as a solution to COVID. Like, we knew like very early that was, one of the primer natural things you could do to protect yourself.
It was getting banned. Like like videos that were people talking about vitamin D were getting taken down, and it's like, that's not suspicious or anything. That's weird. It's almost like you don't want us to find out about things that might help improve our health. You want us to all be unhealthy for right now, at least, especially. It was very, very suspicious of,
Well, guess what? In Russia right now, Coca-Cola is allowed to operate still in Russia. Right? So you can't make this up, right? Like, it's so funny. Like, they got all these like little deals that they talk, oh, we're gonna ban this, ban that, and do all this stuff. But yeah, let's just make Coca-Cola go with their business in Russia.
Yeah.
No, it's a club, and if you're not in it, they think that their whole modus operandi is just basically intimidating you, and they think that they have the power with technology and everything to scare everyone into submission. And what's stupid? Like, what kind of stupid idiots do they think they are that they could intimidate Vladimir Putin? Like, I was up at the Russian-Norwegian border in the military for a year, and I did intelligence on the Russians for NATO, and we studied Putin very closely. His whole history. Like, he's a KGB guy. He's one of the top KGB guys. He runs the country. Like, don't mess with Putin. Like, see, the thing is, like, that. This is why I'm against any leaders, right? Like, that are controlling people, and Putin is as well. If he, as long as you don't bother Putin, he's like, yeah, you have your individual freedom, Charlie. But as soon as you dare to say anything against him, you either get poisoned or, like, just die in a car accident or something like that.
Right.
So it's pretty hilarious. Like, but that's the way. Like, they're trying to come after Vlad, the Impaler, I would almost call it. Like, he's not to be messed with. Like, he's ready to go to nuclear war if that's what you want, kind of thing. So. He's not joking when they say stuff like that. Like, he's not joking. He's dead serious. And they think that he's like isolated, and that is like, no, the Russian, if you've been and known Russian people, or if you've been in Russia, like I've been to Murmansk, for example, like, these Russian people, they're hard-nosed people. Like, they believe in Mother Russia, like they will stand by, not all of them, of course, but very many of them are standing behind what Russia is doing, and they believe in a strong leader. Like, I've people that I work with that are from the former Yugoslav republics. They love strong leaders, and so, like, these people over there, they're actually like, they believe it very seriously in what Vladimir Putin and his people around him are saying. So people that are saying that he's alone and that he's like, don't believe, like, he's crazy. He's calculated. He's a calculated totalitarian.
Yeah.
And the reason why he's going into Ukraine is because he wants to cut off the side of Ukraine that's not Russian. Basically, the eastern part of Ukraine is, what they are the ones that wants to get into the European Union. They're the ones also that have, an aspect of neo-Nazism. I'm not saying that anybody, like, anywhere near the majority of Ukrainians are that way on the east side, but there's a whole bunch. So, like, during this whole thing, what they haven't talked about is all the people that actually, they were forbidden to use the Russian language in a lot of regions of Russia, like, which is totally insane. But that was a part of that neo-Nazi doctrine that they have, with banning culture and banning things that they're against. They just love doing that, right? So it's a whole part of that agenda, and it's just like Putin just had enough of the bullying, I guess, and he just like, yeah, screw you guys. Like, I'm taking over half of Russia that is on my side.
Yeah, I haven't tried to pretend like I fully understand the conflict. I know it goes back, 100 years or so, and there's a whole lot to it.
Yeah.
But I do recognize when all of the controlled Western media demonizes Putin. He's the worst. He's the next Hitler, and we have to distance ourselves from anything Russian. We can't have any Russian literature. We can't have any Russian cats entering the Russian entering the Cat Federation. The Russian cats have been expelled, apparently, which is a big deal. We can't have Russia. We're gonna.
What about my Pomeranians? I got 2 Pomeranians. They're German
Russian,
Polish. They're German Polish, but the Russians love them. Like there's hundreds of I have an account for my dog on Instagram, and there's where most of my viewers come from? They come from Russia.
No way.
Yeah. So,
well, it's so ridiculous and coordinated, and Russia's getting the Joe Rogan treatment.
Oh yeah. It's the woke cancel culture. Like, let's cancel Russia.
Russia just got canceled.
Yeah. No, but
it's just the dumbest thing. It's such massive groupthink. Like, again, they just like weaponize idiots, and then they just sick them on like what they want. Like, okay, all right, let's get them all pissed off and mad about and they just turn them loose. These dumb woke retards. They just turn them loose, and they go out and just destroy, and they don't know anything about anything, and it's so frustrating. But
it's the same guys that Cole have the Twitter handle, like something like Triple Vax Joe. Like now they have a Ukrainian flag, and they're experts on Ukraine. Well, they're experts on whatever the government actually, gives them for information. That's basically what they're just spun, and that's what they did during COVID as well. Like, this is funny. We have a guy here that was on like local media everywhere in my local province here. And what was funny is that this guy was a virologist. I do a little bit of research before I start approaching people about their nonsense. So he was just spouting all this information about vaccines and all this stuff, like you got to take them. And then I found out that, guess what? This guy had worked at NIAID at Fort Detrick. Yeah, at Fort Detrick, and he was basically working with Fauci over there. Yeah. And so I started to hey, what were you doing in NIAID at Fort Detrick? We were working with Fauci on coronavirus gain of function research. So suddenly he was coming, he just suddenly I tweeted against him something. He tweeted 12 posts back to me, all and it was funny. It was just fact checkers. It wasn't even real data. It was just these stupid fact checkers, right? So I was like, fact checkers? Are you kidding me? That those are, most of them are just opinionized. They're just using
that's embarrassing. If you're using fact checkers as your fact checking,
and you're a virologist
on its face. It's just, that's because we know what fact checkers are and what they're not, and it's insulting to our intelligence that you would fact check us with PolitiFact or whatever,
or Thomson Reuters. Actually, Thomson, he's a Canadian, but he actually also is a young global. He's a young global leader.
It's NewsGuard certified.
Yeah,
who cares?
Yeah, but that's usually what people do, though. When I have discussions with people, that's all they can come up with. They don't even care to go on any government website to look at actual numbers. It's hilarious, but that's what they're getting told. They're getting told, they're spouted this, these fact checkers, they know everything. But again, who's fact checking the fact checkers, right? It's
exactly.
It's that
I did an episode on NewsGuard because they had such sketchy financing and people on their board too. It was it was all intelligence agents and everything. I mean, it was and they're like, we're going to say what news sites, what websites are good to go or fine or you should stay away from. And it's let me guess what's going to be green. Washington Post, Fox News, all CNN, all the established stuff.
Trudeau had his own approved media list during the last election, like not the one that we just had, but the one before it. Yeah, approved media.
And when your policies are so shitty that you just have to control. You just have to control what people are allowed to think.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. Yeah, but that's what these guys like. They have all these friends in high places, and again, like going back to the World Economic Forum, I just came up with some more names that just popped into my head: Anderson Cooper and Sanjay Gupta. That's two other ones that was there actually as well. So, and of course they have like media heads in all these big countries as well, like top media people that are around as well. So yeah, they have like they got the full spiel. Like they're ready for. You did trained with Event 201 and all this other stuff. They know how to coordinate their stuff and how to go out there with all this propaganda to make it look really real. And but the problem is though, there's like the Telegram is still a bit controlled in Europe, but there's still a lot that comes through there, and Signal, all these groups that are out there, like chat things that are out there. Actually, people today have phones everywhere. Like, so you see a lot. I'm watching like 3 different intelligence groups, like civil intelligence groups from Ukraine. One that is posting on the Ukrainian side, and then 3 others that are posting on the Russian side, just to see what's actually going on. Like they actually post like physical, pictures that are taken with cell phones. It's not like peace propaganda, pieces that are like. I just saw something hilarious from Fox News. Was like, yeah, there are Ukrainian people are ready to fight. It says in the headline as a guy getting interviewed, a lady that's part of this resistance getting interviewed. And then they actually shows like a whole bunch of these pictures. Like 90% of them is people with fake guns, fake AK-47s.
Yeah.
It's like that. I don't know. Like that would work very well. Like, but I don't know. Maybe they just think people are completely stupid, or it was somebody that was just making a joke while they were talking about. I don't know. But who knows what to believe in these days? Because like anything that is mainstream media or government funded or anything, like you can't really trust it anymore. It's so bad that a lot of people, including my wife, she doesn't believe that in the government as an institution anymore. And she was like, she's not a direct employee, but she's getting funded by the government for doing what she's doing. So you have all these people just losing completely faith, and she's like just appalled by Trudeau. She thinks she's the worst scumbag that has existed on planet Earth, basically.
She might be correct.
Yeah. So people are desperate, like definitely losing it. And I had like a random guy, Charlie, like I was just sitting, I was going to pick something up at a distributor, and I was standing there in front of my car, and this other guy just comes and he starts talking to me, and he's like, that like Bill Gates is involved in this stuff. And like, he just gets into this like, yeah. Tell me more kind of thing, right? And it's great to see that though, like that these people are out there, and there's more and more of them. You see more and more people actually, like, and just saying that Bill Gates is scumbag or whatever. Like, it's not just that. Like, he just recently came out and said that it's sadly, Omicron has worked better as a. No, there's been how did he say it? Like, I don't know if I'm gonna butcher this one, but. He said, like, sadly, there's been the virus has been out there and worked better than the vaccine itself, and that's terrible. That it actually did that in Africa. He was talking about Africa. 80% he said have gotten Omicron, have natural immunity against this crap, right? And then now it's coming out that potentially this is permanent, right? Like the mRNA stuff is actually permanent. Like it actually transcribes and stays in your DNA. And there's another video of Anthony Fauci and the head of BARDA, which is another, like, you have DARPA, but you have BARDA, that's like bio defense, whatever they called. They were actually discussed. This is a Milken Institute video where basically they're saying like, how can we blow up the system? Like the head of like the Milken Institute says, and then Fauci chirps in. It's like, yeah, we need a crisis, and we could come out and then be able to push with that crisis, very fast development of vaccines. This was about like a year or so before COVID happened.
Jesus.
Yeah. So like these guys are just pure scumbag. And what do you got to remember? Like there's lady, what's her name? PhD. Oh my goodness, we've had her on the Union of the Unwanted. What's her name again now? She's a virologist. Help me out there. I totally drawing a blank on this.
Jessica Rose?
No, not Rose. It's the older lady.
I don't remember.
Oh my goodness, what's her name now? But anyway, she was out there talking with Ernest Hancock for like 6 years before everything about what a fraud Fauci was, because Fauci locked her out, of HIV research back in the day, and how this is exactly a copy paste of HIV crisis. And now we got books like Robert Kennedy's book that are proving that. And it's funny, nobody's carrying his book, but it's, probably one of the top best-selling books right now in the world.
Are we talking Judy Mikovits?
Judy Mikovits, for crying out loud.
Yeah. We've had her on a couple times. Yeah, she's great, man. Once you wind her up, man, you just let her go.
Yeah, there's no stopping that lady. That's
Judy,
for sure.
She'll talk, baby.
Yeah, so, but anyways, so it just shows you that some of these people have been there for a very long time. They're in there for a long haul, right? And they're relentless. Like, they won't stop. Like, it's like just the who's who of, criminals, and they're constantly working. And then you got Peter Daszak, the guy that actually were down there with EcoHealth Alliance that were doing these projects, like doing these gain of function research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. He actually was sent initially down there to do research if this came from the lab. He was a part of the whole group that went down there. The guy that actually did the gain of function. So, yeah, it's like the 9/11 report and stuff like that. Like, it's just total fraud. Yeah.
It's like it's happening all over again. Yeah. It's happening all over again with COVID, and it's like that same sort of, it's not exactly like 9/11, but it's got that vibe where it's like, oh, crisis. Okay. Cram everything in.
Well, the swine flu
you could possibly figure out to attach to COVID, somehow cram it in now. This is when it's our free for all.
Yeah. And swine flu, the swine flu vaccine. The swine flu vaccine fell. And guess what? They stopped it after, I think it was 25 deaths or something.
And how many do we have now?
Well, actually, the official number from Pfizer's report, this is Pfizer's own numbers. It's 1,223 in the first 3 months.
Dead?
That Pfizer themselves, like their own damn document. But we know that the numbers that we see is way greater. And please go into it.
So let's then take the 2009 Harvard Pilgrim study that looked into VAERS and found that the actual number of cases that were being reported as opposed to actually happened was 100 to 1 off. So what they were saying was, when you looked at the VAERS reports, don't just add 1 0, add 2 zeros to it, because it was, whatever it was 100 times more. That's according to their study that they did back then. So look, if you take those numbers, now you're talking about 120,000, right?
So isn't that, if you add 2 zeros, wouldn't that be 2 million to 20,000? Like 20,000.
How many deaths? How many global deaths do we have?
Well, there's 23,000, I believe. 23,000 on the VAERS. 23,000 on VAERS in the United States. So if you add 2 zeros to that, wouldn't that be like 2.3 million people?
That's what it would be.
Yeah, and
that would explain why the insurance underwriters are getting nervous.
Yeah, and there was actually a German one that just got fired for coming out. And the insurance underwriters have been out there. Actually, they were some of the ones starting to be like, hey, this is pretty serious stuff. Like, what's going on here? And so like, yeah, there's lots of people around that have had serious reactions. Like there was a friend of mine, one of her friends, she was a athlete and she got paralyzed. But yeah, so it's no joke, this stuff. Like people think that, oh, these guys are just making it up and all this stuff. Like this is pretty damn serious stuff. Like this is very disturbing and disgusting what happened. Like this is probably the worst atrocity since World War II, and the Nazis came after the Jews. Like it's not likely that we actually tried to compare this to that, because this is like been an experimental drug. Like first of all, we're still in clinical trials, for crying out loud, until like the late 2022 now. So like we're still like another 9 months until actually the Pfizer one is done, the initial one. Then you got the Moderna one coming in 2023. Like these guys are big problems. And then of course Borla had the audacity to come out and say that people that are against the vaccine are terrorists and they should be put in prison. Yeah, and that I think these guys are just projecting what they are to everybody, right? Like they're just like wanting to blame everybody else for what they actually are doing, for they are, because it's so insane that people, like if you repeat this stuff to people, like people start believing in it. They just start believing in that they're stupid and scumbags for not trusting these people.
Yeah.
And so on.
It's been a fascinating case study in human psychology and herd manipulation.
Yeah,
watch what's been happening. It really has been frustrating and crazy and all that stuff, but fascinating as hell to watch what they have done to us.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's pretty amazing, like this whole experiment that have happened. Like, and it was so coordinated. Like I've never seen anything so well coordinated in history of any event. Like this was just like, and because like problem is like people are stuck in a little bubble in their little state or in their little province or even in their town. They don't look at the news that is happening all across the world. Like you just go and follow it. And every like what's even more funnier is that like it follows regular like cold cycles. Like when people get sick because of lack of sun, like it basically, you could predict, like I predicted that like we're going to see a massive spike in COVID because everybody's getting tested. We've never done that in history before. And guess who's behind testing companies now? It's Warren Buffett and Bill Gates are some of the biggest investors in these companies. So of course they're going to test everyone. And it's never happened on this scale. Like usually when you got tested for flu or something, like you went to the hospital and you were sick with it, and then they actually, oh, you have the flu, and that's how it was tested. Like now it's gotten so bad here that because of Omicron that they said like, oh, don't even test yourselves anymore. Like they just gave up, because what happened here, this is hilarious. They actually had the COVID numbers starting to turn that, all these double vaxxed were getting way overwhelming compared to unvaxxed. And right now it's actually more like even the death rate is basically there's no change, whatever you've done. Almost like it's crazy, but that started to happen. So they suddenly just removed the daily numbers of what vax status they had, and guess what they did? They plunked unvaccinated people with unvaxxed people. So like not fully vaccinated, they call them. So they're just like literally like every time it goes against whatever their narrative is, they just
change the reporting mechanisms, or the accounting of it all. This is what you do when you're lying, when you're just pathological, when you're caught. When you're busted, you just start changing and making up different rules. Like, oh well, no, we're doing it different.
Like the gain of function, yeah. Like Fauci is out there saying like, this is not gain of function. This is we call this P3, whatever. Like whatever new term they created for it, like with a whole bunch of stupid PhDs that are like trying to make up a name for something that was gain of function.
Right. Like inflation is it's transitory inflation, and everyone's like, what does that mean? They're like, well, it's transitory. It means it's like passing through. And it's like, do you think we're stupid?
Well, yeah, I agree. Inflation is transitory. It comes and then it stays.
It comes and then it stays.
Yeah.
Right. It's coming from somewhere else, but then it stays on you. It doesn't pass through and go up.
Oh, it doesn't go down again. Like when does ever fruit price or anything go down?
It's transitory. It's transitioning up. Like, it's
well, it's all a game to these guys, and they are so adamant now that they're just going to totally ignore one side of the spectrum. They're never going to let anybody talk about it because they have the media on their side. They are so strongly in belief right now that they are in control, that they're willing to do and say whatever they want now, I feel like. Like, they feel like they're so empowered right now. Like, you got Trudeau doing what he's doing. Right, like let's invoke the Emergency Measures Act against peaceful protesters and trample Aboriginal Mohawk lady like elders, with your horses and call them white supremacists.
It's so obviously bad for optics, and yet and it's so clear that they're the bad guys, and then they just come out and have the media go, "We're the good guys." And you're like, what? You guys are the worst people in the world. They're like, we're good.
Yeah,
we're the good guys. And like the media's like, look how good they are. And you're like, the whole thing is so disgusting. You just want to scream.
Oh, I just I don't know how many times I've been yelling at. I just listen to radio when I'm out driving because some places I can't get cell phone coverage there, and I'm like, but I learned how to be more calm about it and not lose my temper, because that's really what they want us to do. They want us to become violent, and they want us to totally lose our temper, because then they won. Because then they'll be like, look at that scumbag over there. He's shot somebody up because and that's exactly what they want. They want that.
I'm not going to fall into that trap. I'm not going to do anything like that.
But it's frustrating. I get it. You get a lot of anger, built up inside of you, and you want to, basically give them, have a little boxing match with them, a friendly boxing match, and give them a piece of your mind during that friendly boxing match.
As our friend Sam Tripoli would say, I'll fight you for charity.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. What I really loved was a guy called Tim Moen. He actually challenged, he's a libertarian candidate. He spoke at Acapulco one year, and he actually was saying that, he challenged Justin Trudeau to a boxing fight.
Like the old times. Like, put up your dukes.
Yeah. So it's kind of fun. Well,
that'd be great. That'd be great. That'd be better than voting.
Yeah, I think that's where they need to go. Actually, I think that politics should go to where it was at the end of the Roman Empire, where they murdered each other. These
there you go. Why not? Yeah. It's already professional wrestling. Why not just go ahead and just be complete, just pull the mask all the way off?
Yeah, because they're willing to do stuff like that. Let's not try to hide under a rug. When they feel like they're powerful enough, that's what's coming next. That's there's no doubt. Look at what happened with Nazi regime, right? And other regimes throughout history. When they finally feel like, this is it, we got control now, then that's when
that's
real authoritarian
starts.
Yeah, that's when they actually show their true colors.
Yeah. So they're auditioning right now.
Yeah,
they're on their best behavior.
Look how evil I am. I put in the Emergency Measures Act. I'm the biggest scumbag on planet Earth right now.
Wait till they get total control, and then the mask comes off, and then you see what
they're really about. Or you could be like, what's his name over there, Joe Biden. In his recent, what was it?
Don't you talk about my president like that?
And it was funny though. It was hilarious. What did he say now? We're gonna win the hearts of the Iranian people.
I mean, he was close.
Yeah.
He was close.
Yeah.
He's a borderline old man.
He's borderline senile,
dude.
Yeah, he's very bad, and of course he's involved in Ukraine, like Hunter Biden and John McCain. All these guys were over there, and we can't forget Victoria Nuland. I think is she now? Secretary of State? What is she now? She's high up in. She's some kind of advisor or something to Biden. but she was openly on a phone call calling for the toppling of the Ukrainian government, colluding with I think it was the ambassador at the time in Ukraine for the United States. So let's not forget.
On a regime change op. Yeah. That's,
I wonder.
And they're going to lecture us about how to behave.
Well, see, like Russia just want their puppet back. They just want their puppet government back, like from the U.S. puppet government. It's like it's so hilarious. It's all like a geopolitical game, and they don't care if like millions of people get murdered. Like the United States have done over the last like decades now with innocent people. In a lot of these Arab countries, they don't give a crap about those people. All they care about is, when it all comes down to it, like countries, there's two things that these leaders care about. It's control over commodities, so all the real things in the world, and it's control over the monetary system and the people, and then of course it's control and positioning. Like I have a book called The Revenge of Topography, and it actually talks about how there's always conflicts around like certain like mountain ranges or rivers and all this stuff. Like it's been there forever. Like these elites are there fighting. And it's not that they're, like when you go and look at family members and so on, and who they marry, like these young global leaders, like they're all like marrying elites, like marrying intermingling and so on. Yeah. And let's not forget too, like on my LinkedIn, I found like all these royals. Like there's all these, like they call them HRH. If you go and look up that on LinkedIn, you'll find tons of old royals. This is hilarious. I was actually featured in a magazine called The Billionaire's Chronicle. And this magazine is for like supposed like billionaires or whatever. But guess who was writing in it? It was like all these sheikhs and all these people. And then there was actually the grandson of Otto von Bismarck was in there, and all these like elite people. And then I'm there like, hey, like the US is gonna fall, basically. I was saying in the my article, but this lady wanted me to like, oh yeah, like we really believe in what you're saying, like you really should write an article here. And so but that's who was in this, like, and you find these royals and everything, and guess what? I click on these royals. Guess who they're connected to as like secondary connections or third connections on LinkedIn? It's Hollywood people. They're connected to Rockefellers and Rothschilds. Like you can't make this shit up. Like that's it's hilarious. Funny. Yeah, they're actually connected. Yeah, they're on LinkedIn. Yeah, they're on LinkedIn because they also use it for networking, right? Like they also use it for communicating. Like it's not that they have this like secret platform that they use. A lot of these guys, they just use LinkedIn like others as well.
It's so crazy.
Yeah, but it's it all comes back to like we live in a world where basically we replace our kings and queens. Like we kind of talked about that with politicians and government officials. Like that's where we're at. Like we're entering back into feudalist system, but this time it's going to be technocratic. Like it's going to be run by technology and not like a horse and buggy like tax collector that comes around and like with a couple of soldiers to get the money for living on the land of the king.
Yeah, that's it.
Now they just take your money out of your bank account with your CBDC. It's a lot easier than the old tax collectors.
Exactly.
The Swedes used to like the first country in Europe to get into a paper currency was actually the Swedes, because they used to collect like. And I have a miniature thing here. Like this is pretty neat. It was called a copper dollar, and this is actually 40 pounds. Like the actual physical version. You could buy them online from shipwrecks. They're $7,000 to $11,000 for actual specimen of it. Wow. And they used to have that as money, and they used to carry that around. And actually, tax collectors had a horrible time. They got stuck everywhere because this money was fucking huge, right? and so then you had a guy called Johann Palmstruck in 1666. He invented the first paper money in Sweden, and actually I have a replica of it made in pure silver, and this was the first ever European currency, and it was called the Swedish dollar, basically. But it's actually this is a full-on replica of the first ever printed paper money in Europe. It came from China initially, paper money from 1024. But what happened though is that I got to make fun of the Swedes because they went into paper money. Guess what? The palm stroke, after only 6 years, he got basically sentenced to hanging because he fully hyperinflated the currency.
Of course, if you have the goose that lays the golden eggs, man,
but guess what? Then suddenly, only 20 years after, you then have the Central Bank of Sweden, the Riksbanken, which is the oldest central bank in the world, getting developed. And guess what? They did exactly what they were going to hang Palmstroke for.
Of course they did.
Yeah, so what we got to remember, that whole like system, if you can control money, if you can print money, like you're in control over everything. Like, yeah. And that's what it comes down to. The idea of banking is very old. Like it's, probably older than we even know. Like the history of Venice being the place of banking. It might have happened, tens of thousands of years. Who knows how far back it goes, right? Because like things, wither over like X amount of years.
We know how information disappears. We understand.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, it's interesting. Like we live in a world where at least what we can do, and what's great about technology though, is that we actually have counter technology. We have our own platforms. We're getting decentralized. So even though that they're doing all this evil stuff and they can control all these other platforms, people are waking up. And of course, my generation, so millennials, Gen Zs, and like all those younger people, like my brother, he lives on welfare, but he actually is on the internet. He knows everything almost that I know. I'm shocked sometimes. Yeah. So he's talking about this conspiracies. It's like, oh, you know about that, eh? Like,
wow.
Yeah. So the younger generation, we're afraid that they're all like a whole bunch of socialists and so on, but there's a lot of them live on the internet and they find this stuff. There's conspiracy theories going around. Like, you just tell me about all these conspiracy theories. It's like, I looked into some of them and they're like true. Yeah. So like these kids are, even though that they're disenfranchised and all this stuff, and the government wants to control them through universal basic income and all this stuff, I think that like they're coming out and we live in an information age, but they can't really control them because when you talk to these kids, they're not on Facebook. They're not really even on Instagram and so on. Like they're on a whole bunch of other platforms that I never even heard of. Right. So these kids are growing up in the digital age. I grew like a sliver in, like I started, I was like 8 or 9 years old when I got my first computer. But like, until like basically 2000, like when Facebook and all that started to happen, there was like really nothing on the internet, to really do. So yeah, we live in a very interesting age where I think we're turning into somewhat like, I think we've seen like just by the times that I've been down to Acapulco and to other conferences, like you're seeing an awakening that is happening, even though that it's so blatant, like all the propaganda is around you and you feel like you kind of are alone. You're actually not, because a lot of people are starting to see, because they're getting so, I think like narcissistic and just cocky about like that. They think that you're so stupid that they're making the mistake of like just blatantly like showing totally wrong things when people actually can see with their eyes what they are now. I think like that's where they're failing. I don't know, like I think we're getting, we've been on here for 2 hours now, basically.
I know.
So let's just finish up, but let me give you get us some final thoughts on what do you see like over the next period of time, and kind of like what makes you feel more positive about the outcomes that we could see.
So here's my way to wrap it up on a high note. We know that the mainstream media is the enemy of humanity. They want the exact opposite of what's best for us. And I think that after the 2 years of COVID, a lot of people have been forced to realize what the mainstream media really is. And that they're not to be trusted, and that they have alliances with big corporations, and that they're not always honest with us about much. So and that's reflected now in their ratings. CNN has nobody's watching. They've lost 90% of their viewership. People are turning off the mainstream corporate media. That is a great thing. That is extremely important for people towards getting to a position where they can process better information. So having that distrust in mainstream media is a great thing. I take that as a positive sign. The best thing that's come out of this COVID thing, it has been the media just tripping on their dicks and exposing themselves for being so bad at being narrative managers and being so dishonest at every single turn. They're just more dishonest than they were before. And they just keep getting caught over and over and over again. And people are just going, I'm not interested in whatever you guys are selling. I'm not interested in it. And that's a really good thing. So we'll wrap it with that and just say that's good news. And I hope, and I don't know what the future is going to bring, but at least I know that the mainstream media has lost their credibility. And that puts us one step closer to breaking the stranglehold that they have on the Ministry of Truth. So if we can continue to chip away at that, then we're definitely on the right track. So
I think also governments, like there's so many people that are just fed up with the government.
Just tired of government. Yeah. They're ready to take a look at government's always telling us what to do. And they're going, you know what, maybe we should look at reimagining government, because you guys aren't doing a very good job of whatever it is you say you're doing. We don't really trust you, and you guys all seem to be into some crazy shit, and and you spend our money foolishly, and you create all these fake wars and get us all mad at each other. And like, what exactly do you do here, Bob? You know what I mean? Like, let's examine the relationship we have with government. So the media's trust has been lost, and to a certain extent, the government says as well, which is, to me, fine. Like, they have nobody to blame but themselves, really.
And I think it's
they've acted recklessly, and they have a monopoly on violence, and they use that at every chance they get, and so they're becoming exposed. And
and
couldn't happen to a nicer batch of guys, right?
Yeah, and they're destroying the currency. So like people are like, not holy smokes, like we didn't even touch upon that, but we'll do that another time. Yeah. But all the inflation right now is just devastating people. Like it's crazy. Yeah, because I talk to the everyday person, and they're struggling, and they're pissed off and fed up. And so I think that there's a lot of great positives, even though that it sucks that people have to be pissed off and mad at the government for destroying their whole savings, basically, that knows happening. But I think that has to happen. I think we're seeing, like, we're at the end, of the cycle that we call, like, from collectivism to individualism, or you could call it from totalitarian type of governments to, like, what I call peak government, to then collapse in on itself and then turn into some kind of like different types of states, and anarchy could be part of, like, all these different things. So I think that's where we're heading with everything that we're seeing right now. Over the next 2 decades, I think a lot of crazy things will have happened. And let's hope not one of them is nuclear war, because that'd be like, whoever does that is a stupid moron that would ever start that. But one more thing though, Charlie, where can people find your books or your podcasts and all that stuff?
Sure. The podcast Macroaggressions is available in audio format wherever podcasts are served, in video format on David Icke's platform Ickonic, on Odyssey, on Rockfin, on band.video, and my website is theoctopusofglobalcontrol.com. And I'm on Twitter at Macroaggression there.